You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody. Returning to Katahdin, an Appalachian Trail dream. Have you ever dreamt of hiking the AT? Bruce Matson did, so we're going to follow him every step of the way. Welcome back to Returning to Katahdin, an Appalachian Trail dream, sponsored by Trailtopia Adventure Foods. We're on to episode number 18 this week. Last week we heard Bruce at Amicalola Falls and again at the top of Springer with his wife Cheryl. He was on his way and disappearing into the woods. Quite the moment. I knew that it was going to be more of a challenge to speak with him at any sort of arranged times. I told him to text me if he had a signal, and if I was around we could record. This worked out pretty well the first time, and I was able to speak with him last Monday. But before we get on to my first chat with Bruce, who fancies a spot of lunch? How about those days when you've struggled through the morning, probably got 10 miles under your belt, and breakfast is a distant memory? It's lunchtime, and yep, you could always have your fourth Snickers of the day for yet another sugar rush. But sitting there in an empty shelter, protected from the bitter wind, I'm sure you'd really rather have Trailtopia's beef-flavoured ramen noodles with green beans, corn and mushrooms. Tea-flippin'-licious. And if you need to go without the gluten, all of Trailtopia's ramen noodle lunches and light dinners are available gluten-free. Try Trailtopia Adventure Food, the best of home cooking away from home. Now, I know that I did this last year when I followed Jessa or Atty on my other show, but I really didn't recall how good or bad the sound had been. So I was a little nervous about that first call. You're going to have to accept a number of interruptions by high winds from time to time, but I thought that this first effort wasn't too bad. Here, on his second night in the woods and high on top of a mountain, is Bruce. By the way, make sure you listen straight away. I love his first comment.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Bruce, how are you?
This is great.
Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? It really is.
I'm going to text you a photo of the view that I'm having right now while we're talking. So
do that. Absolutely do that. Yeah.
Hang on one second. Hallie, it was just going to bother you if I talk for 10 minutes. This is a podcast they're doing about this hike. Maybe you want to get Hallie on the podcast?
Of course.
Okay. Okay. I hate to disturb her. We're sitting here on this outlook. It's beautiful, but she's going to go get warmed up because the temperature's dropping. So we won't be disturbing her.
Okay. So how are you?
I'm great. Tired.
Are you tired? What'd you do the first couple of days?
First day, as all my planning, I didn't realize how far the shuttle was from my little B&B cabin place.
Oh, yeah.
And, they served breakfast and, I didn't get hiking until 10:30, 11. And
right.
Anyway, long story short, I went to Hawk Mountain, which was 7.1 miles from the parking lot.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's not a bad first day, Bruce. I don't think you want to overdo it when you get started.
It's really what you should do.
Yeah.
If there was no easy way to tack on 2 or 3 miles because of there weren't logical stopping points.
Yeah.
So it was the right thing to do.
You've done 11 today, by the looks. If you said you're at Ramrock Mountain.
Right. I think it was 11, maybe a little over 11.
Okay, cool.
8.1 to 19.7. So 11 and a half.
I'm just looking at it. Yeah, that's right. Because I've got the map open in front of me. I'm kind of stalking you. So what's the weather been like?
Really good overall. We've just been incredibly lucky. So when I left Cheryl, it had very, very light rain. I didn't even put a raincoat on. I hiked all day in a light rain that was on or off, and cloudy and misty.
Sure.
But I never needed a raincoat because my body heat kept the shirt relatively dry. And then
Yes.
It poured last night. Poured, and that whole I don't know if you probably got it even there. There was a huge front that came across the entire U.S. and the East Coast got hit yesterday.
Not Florida. It was fine.
Not Florida. Yeah, you're always different.
It was about 88. 88.
Yeah, we got all of the rain while we slept. We woke up this morning. It was raining at 5, raining at 6. I packed up at 6:30 and I headed out at 7:30, and very light rain when I was packing up, and it never rained again today.
Nice.
And the sun came out a little tiny bit before noon, and I'd say since 3 o'clock it's been clearing and clearing, and now it is absolutely beautiful, beautiful blue sky. We're supposed to have a 0% chance of rain, all sunshine for the climb over Blood Mountain.
Oh, how fantastic is that? How beautiful.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. I mean, the night we talked about, which was going to be your second night camping, that was going to really be tonight,
That's
wasn't
tonight.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, tonight.
And this is on, you're going to sleep where you are now, are you?
Yeah. This is there's some stealth sites here. There's a bunch. In fact, I'm almost everyone who's up here, I'm responsible for them to be up here, because I ran into them at different places hiking or at Hawk Mountain last night.
Sure.
And a couple of them I met just like 2 minutes before we got to Gooch Gap Shelter, and they were going to quit and go to Geech. They said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going up here." And I told them about the Gut Hook says is a great place for sunsets, and it looks like it's going to be a clear day. So there's like 8 of us up here now that I had all told them.
Oh, how lovely.
None of them knew about it. So it's kind of fun. But everyone was wiped out. The last climb up to this mountain was just, and it wasn't so tough. It's just that at the end of the day, I was beat. And I tell you, I am beat today.
Yeah, you know what? That's don't you think it's a lovely beat, if you know what I mean? You feel great, really.
Absolutely. Don't you? Absolutely. It absolutely is.
And you're comfortable. You've got your tent there. You've got your sleeping bag. You've got everything you need to have a decent evening, talk to decent people. I mean, man, I envy you. I tell you, I'm listening to you thinking, oh my God, I wish I was there. It is really something. It really is. So, what are your first impressions then of the trail?
I've been very surprised at how good a quality the treadway is. So a lot of my shakedown hikes and just other hikes, I wasn't used to having so much nice packed earth and trails. I mean, there are plenty of rocks here and there, but I think the maintenance of these trails has been great. So I think, one, the quality of the trails surprised me, and then two, people told me, George would kind of, knock you for a loop. I'm not saying it was easy, but it wasn't as hard as I thought. And someone told me that they didn't know how to build switchbacks in Georgia. But I thought a lot of our ascents were done in a very gentle way, and we were climbing, hundreds of feet without going straight up. So I've been really pleasantly surprised at the quality of the trail, and not the ease, but the fairness of it, and the sort of the ability to climb up and down different heights without having too a severe. And there's obviously some severe up, some severe down, but the hiking experience has been really enjoyable.
Wow. Well, and you've only got 2,170 miles to go. So it's nearly all over.
Yeah. I get to Neil Gap. I figure I'm about done.
That is funny. Now, what about the people you've met? Is there an impression of them at all?
A little early. I have, it is before the bubble, and
yes,
but there's plenty of people out here.
Yeah.
I hiked with the same guy yesterday morning. I ran into him again this morning, and a 65-year-old guy, and we hiked together for a little bit. And I don't know, I've hiked with some section hikers that have been here. Amazing experience. I ran into a couple at Gooch Gap just before I called you.
Yeah.
He's blind.
Wow.
And just to talk to them about the challenge and their spirit, and just amazed. Cheryl's worried about me crossing these creeks. She thinks that I've got to wade into my waist, and somehow she got this impression that there's all these fords. And I know there are some in Maine. I'm not sure how many others there are, but
it's basically Maine. It's basically Maine. I wouldn't worry about any of them before then.
That's what I thought. But Justice Creek, and the southeast has had a fair bit of rain this winter, so I think all the streams are high. The springs there's plenty of water, I think, and But Justice Creek, I sat and had lunch at today. It was just gorgeous. Filtered some water, and the woman I talked to had made a video of her blind husband navigating those rocks across Justice Creek, and it's just amazing.
Wow.
So,
is he profoundly blind, or is he partially
completely
sighted?
blind?
Oh, is he?
Completely
Oh,
blind.
gosh. How, that is just amazing, Bruce. I just can't imagine how somebody could take that on in blind, because
I agree.
You say the trail's great so far. Trust me, you've got plenty of roots and rocks to come. And
I know.
I found the roots tougher than the rocks personally. I think you kind of know where you are with the rocks. The roots almost come up and grab you. It's a strange feeling once you start encountering them, especially when they get wet, as you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, but it's been really good. It was a great send off with Cheryl. The weekend went perfectly. She had fun doing the approach trail.
Yeah.
I told you she would have no trouble. She was barely winded. She did such a great job, and she was fearful, but she did great. And like I said, she's more fit than I am. So, it's been a lot of fortuity. I'm a lucky guy. Like right now, my tent was soaking wet from a lot of rain last night, and now I'm sitting on top of a hilltop with a breeze and a sun, and how quick do you think my nylon tent's going to dry?
Yeah. It's also I don't know whether you heard today's show. I chatted with Cheryl when she got home last night as well. So
I haven't yet. No,
I did that late into the show. I stayed up till about about 9:30, trying to get it out in time, and I did, which was fortunate. And she was emotional about you having left, and this is easy. I also included, by the way, the link to you actually leaving, walking off with your 4-pack on Sunday morning, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
which is pretty cool. So, what's it like to have the 4-pack? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. I think if I actually weighed it, if I actually did an inventory, I think I've got a few more items than I thought I was taking or said I was taking. And I think it feels a little heavy. I think, I think I'm, of course, I like right now up on this Ramrock, we all had to walk down, about Point Ford at Gooch Gap to load up on water because there's no water up here. So, I carried 4 liters of water up on top of everything else. And that I felt it at the end of the day.
Wow.
But to answer your question, I would have told you, I think I'm at 31, 32. I think it feels more like I'm probably at 36. And I got to figure out a way to get some weight off. But we'll see.
They do that shakedown at Neil's Gap, don't they?
That's right. Well, of course,
in both senses of the word.
Yeah. Well, it just seems crazy. I just, all the discussion we had about leaving in February and the winter supplement, and I'm carrying all this winter stuff that is just hanging, in my pack. And,
no, Bruce, you've got plenty of time with it. You've got plenty of time to worry. Don't worry about that, mate. Frankly, this is you again. This is you. You've been lucky. You started off with decent weather. It gets tougher. It's going to get tougher, obviously. And it's lovely, though, to be able to start the way you have. And the fact that you're hanging out at the top of a hill with another 7 or 8 people is fantastic. I think it's wonderful. And, it feels very collegiate when people start getting together and, very collegial rather when people start getting together on the top of hills and watching sunset. I mean, you can't do that in real life, can you? Well,
you got to work at it. It seems like more in real life than you do out here.
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right. Okay, mate. Well, look, lovely to catch up with you, and I'm so pleased we've spoken. And I will speak to you in a couple of days again.
All right, very good. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, buddy.
Be well.
Yeah, and you. Bye.
Cheers now.
How cool is that? He's already leading the youngsters astray by taking them away from the shelter and stealth camping on top of a mountain. And he sent me that very few that he had, and I'll put the picture in the show notes. He did seem very content, didn't he? Sitting on a log, his tent drying out in the breeze, looking across the mountains and valleys below. So that was Monday. I was quite satisfied with that. He was nearly 20 miles into the hike, he had a few tales to tell, and most importantly, he was clearly enjoying himself. Then I started to read about storms up the East Coast, and I had no idea what happened to him. Tuesday came and went, then Wednesday, and I started to get a little concerned, so I sent him a text about recording for a second time. I was like his mother. But nothing. Nada. Until late that evening when he responded with, "I will try. Dreadful weather." Wasn't sure about that. When I heard nothing on Thursday morning, I sent him another text, then again on Friday morning. I was concerned by now. I couldn't care about the show, but I did care what might be happening to a well-prepared 60-year-old man. Suddenly, at 1:26 on Friday afternoon, he texted me, "You free?" And I was, so we had this brief exchange. It was very windy with lots of the wind noise getting in the way. And the fact that he had just one bar on his phone really didn't help either.
Yes, sir.
Hello, how are you, stranger? I'm getting worried about you. I was getting worried about you.
I'm sorry. It's we've had some pretty challenging weather, and just trying to stay organized and dry and swap clothes on and off, and
I bet.
you've done it, and I'm still my first week, so I've been trying to just make sure I'm comfortable with what I'm doing every day, and
yeah, sure.
I'm way behind in trying to do anything with stuff at home or videos and things, but I think it's more important that I get comfortable out here.
Absolutely, of course it is. Yeah, I'm just glad you're safe. I was getting a bit concerned. I thought I haven't heard from him, and I'm
sorry.
No, not at all. You know what? The one good thing, if you were a young woman I was following, I would have been worried about it. But you're an older guy. You're sensible about it. So what's it been like?
Oh, it's been. Overall, it's great. Today is a cold, windy day. You probably can hear the wind.
I can hear the wind. Yeah.
I'm near Kelly Knob on my way to Dix Creek Gap.
How many miles is that? Where are you? How many miles have you done roughly?
When I get to Dix Creek, it'll be 69 miles on the AT.
All right.
So that's pretty, I think, solid. It's right about, well, not right. It's exactly my original plan.
Of course it is. Of course it is, Bruce.
Yeah.
That's funny.
If you add in the approach trail, that's 79 or 78 miles in 7 days. So that's
I think for a first week, that's excellent. That's excellent for a first week. What's your biggest day been so far?
Yesterday was 14 and a half in
wow.
miserable, cold, wind, rain, coming off.
I'm losing you a bit there.
So,
I lost you a bit there. So, I'm going to ask you again. I'll ask you again.
Yeah,
so, what's?
Yeah.
I'll ask you. I'll ask you again.
Steve, let me walk a little further. I thought this was a good spot, but I only have one bar.
All right. Okay.
So let me do that. Let me just see if I can get a little better spot and call you back.
Well, I'll call you. Just text me and I'll call you. Okay.
Yeah, I'll text you. Okay, very good.
Bye.
Yep.
So he was safe and about 70 miles into the hike. Not all bad, and of course precisely where he'd planned to be. It took him another half hour to find a protected spot and a few more bars on his phone, so we were able to have a proper chat. Here he is again.
Okay, how we doing?
Not too bad. How are you? All right?
Yeah. I tried to find a little corner. After I left you last, I walked across a ridge and it was howling wind. You wouldn't be able to hear everything.
Yeah, I know it's like.
Yeah. So you can probably hear it a little bit. I've kind of ducked down off of the ridge. I think it's a little better, but may well hear some gusts.
That sounds pretty good. And while I remember, actually, before we go ahead, I omitted to ask you a question the other day. So actually, we sent the Trialtopia meals to Robert and his wife, who turned up to wish you all the best. So I thought that was a kind of a nice thing to do. And
that was really nice. Yeah.
He must be very pleased. So we have a question this week from a great name, by the way, Kristin Cowpie Princess Brown. What a name. So Kristin asks, and this is really, I know you've already started your hike, but she's interested because she hikes around Virginia. She said, what are some of your favorite tune-up hikes that you did in Virginia?
The one that comes to mind immediately, which she could see on my YouTube channel, is the Three Ridges Mohar Trail. It's a 1 or 2 night trip, depending on how much you want to do.
Right.
The beauty of it is it's a loop, so you don't have to do it out and back. You can park in Reed's Gap, which she'll know Reed's Gap as being either near a Wintergreen Resort or Devil's Backbone. And you can hike south on the AT, and
I remember it well.
then do this loop and come right back.
Nice.
Most of my shakedown hikes this year have been from southern half of the Shenandoah through the Priest and Spy Rock, and all those are pretty much Central Virginia.
Yeah.
The one I remember really well from my earlier hiking days is just a journey down to Southwest Virginia and do Mount Rogers and the Grayson Highlands.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful, isn't it?
Did that, yeah. So, and one of the other great things about Central Virginia, particularly people who are, not trying to do a lot of shuttling, the Shenandoah has a number of trails that you can combine with each other and with the AT, and have nice loop hikes and come back to your car, but also see a different trail. So those would be some thoughts.
Nice, very nice. So, Kristin, you'll be getting a cut of Trailtopia meals. Thanks for that. And when we last spoke, apart from for about 2 minutes earlier on, you were stealth camping, I remember, on Ramrock Mountain, and you sent me a picture of your sunrise, which was great. There's something about a sunrise at the top of a mountain, isn't it? Or sunset, rather, at the top of a mountain. I bet it was spectacular. Did it stay cloudless that night?
It was fantastic. In fact, I need to send you the sunrise. The Guthook app said that the sunset was good there. And interesting, the sun, actually sank to the right of us, and it rose to the left of us. So it was beautiful, but it wasn't a classic sunset when you see it kind of going down in front of you over the horizon.
Yeah.
But the way it lit up the valley down in front of us was beautiful. And actually the sunrise was even prettier. And it's my favorite. It was fun. There's nothing in AWOL's guide about tenting up on Ramrock Mountain, but I had seen a reference to it in Guthook. And so when I was talking to some different people, we were all hiking together. We were all kind of heading in the same direction after being at Hawk Mountain. A lot of people were going to stop at Gooch Gap. And I said, hey, you do what you want, but here's a neat idea. And I think there were 7 or 8 people up there, all of whom had heard about it from me. And we had just a great little gathering. You know what it's like. It's just a great gathering of people on this great perch looking out over the valley and the sunrise and sunset. And
nice. You start your own early little trail family then. They followed you up the rock, which is fantastic.
It was great. It was my favorite little thing like that so far, although obviously it's been a short while.
That's right. Now I know you've since gone over the highest spot in Georgia, Blood Mountain, at nearly 4,500 feet. How was that climb up for you?
I thought the climb up was very fair, and that would be part of my comments generally about the trail so far. I expected maybe a little more severity with respect to the verticals. I'm not suggesting for a minute that it's easy, but I thought the trails have taken us, up the slopes in a very fair way, and the approach to Blood Mountain I thought was very fair. The real notable thing, as I'm sure you know, is the departure from Blood Mountain down into Neal Gap.
Yes.
That was very difficult, and we were there on a gorgeous day. The very next day was a horrendous day. And I remember walking down some of those kind of almost sheer rocks that were...
That's right. They are really bad. Imagine it with rain on them.
They're just sheer rocks. And I'm worried about slipping on them on a perfectly sunny, dry day.
Yeah.
I just can't. And it was it reminded me, actually, coming off of Blood, it reminded me a little bit the times I've been in the White Mountains in terms of how rugged the rocks were and the step downs were, and it just went on and on. So I think Climbing Blood was so much fun because it was such an iconic place. The shelter up there, and you've seen video after video, and it's your first sort of big conquest, I think, on the trail. So we had a lot of fun. I was up there with a guy who expects to be going at a similar pace, and we purposely had a picture of the two of us in front of the shelter just in case we might be tag teaming our way up the trail. And
the development of relationships and friendships on the trail is incredibly organic, isn't it? You drift in and out of people. I remember seeing somebody I hadn't seen for 1,500 miles when I got to Maine, and it's just amazing. You don't see anybody for all that time. You're obviously hiking somewhere around them. You just don't see them, and suddenly they're there again. So I love that part of it. And when you got down the bottom, did they do you a pack shakedown at Neal's Gap, or were you pretty happy with what you had?
Well, I'm pretty happy. I'm actually very happy with my selections.
Cool.
I'm unhappy having all these winter items that haven't been used yet, but I think we have to. Everyone around me is sort of saying the same thing, which is, well, you got to carry them at least through the Smokies. So we're just persevering. But my other choices have been very. One of the best things I did, the very last moment, I took you'll really appreciate this, my rain kilt, and threw it in, because originally I was going to survive on the rain pants until it got warmer. And yesterday, and you'd also be very impressed to know that at least in my little bubble, rain kilts are very popular. I would say more than 50% of the people were wearing kilts yesterday.
You fashion guru.
We were, yeah. And I was so in trying to get a picture for you, but it was such a mess. But it was very interesting how, and you know this, and it's really, I think, for the listeners, is how you moderate your temperature throughout the day. And yesterday was
tough,
really challenging because we had cold, we had wind, we had light rain, we had heavy rain, we had no rain, we had uphill, we had downhill. And, the combination of, it's amazing what this thin little kilt does for you in terms of both keeping you somewhat dry, but it adds to the warmth that you're trying to, work through. Your hat's on and off regulating heat. I have a buff around my neck regulating heat. It got cold enough I actually had to put on gloves and liners over them. But you just were constantly, but I was very pleased to have all the items there, and I used an awful lot of them to have what I thought was actually a very successful day. There was kind of a feeling of sort of self-satisfaction that I could, stop, change, and keep myself moving forward on a tough day, make progress, but have the gear that would make the day, acceptable. And you're reminded so much, and I know this is no revelation, but you're reminded so much that when you're out here on a tough day, even today, like right now, I'm starting to get cold sitting on a log. It's a fantastic hiking day, but if you're not moving,
that's right,
you'd be wearing a heavy jacket, a knit cap over your head, and heavy gloves. But I can hike in one layer, no gloves, and my hat comes on and off to help regulate the heat. And you're out here, and you have to make do with what's on your back. And it's,
you do.
I mean,
it's a great feeling, though. And this managing and regulating your temperature is such a big part of it, particularly I think in those early days. It's a lot of ups and downs in Georgia. It's not an easy state at all. So you are taking stuff off and putting it back on, and then you sort of get into a routine, don't you?
No question. And today, completely different day than yesterday. Yesterday's rainy, windy, cold, a mess. It rained a lot. We had all these pop-up waterfalls, flash flood warnings by the National Weather Service. Today couldn't be prettier, not a cloud anywhere, windy, but you still have some of the same challenges of regulating, because like right now I'm sort of near the top of the ridge. The wind is blowing. It's kind of cool, but in maybe 10 minutes, when I start walking, I might drop on the side of the ridge where there isn't any wind and there is sun, and all of a sudden I'm on the warm side. So
Yes.
you constantly have to, and if you're lazy about it, you overheat.
Absolutely.
So it's a challenge in good weather and bad weather.
Yeah, and as you are actually, as you said, you're exactly where you expected to be on your plan. Is the trail as you expected it to be? Is it responding to you, or are you responding to it in the manner in which you expected you would do? Because if you're doing the miles you said you do, it's pretty much as you thought it would be, isn't it?
Yeah. A couple comments about that. I told Cheryl a couple days ago, so halfway through my first week. It's actually a little harder than I thought. And I'm going to say a couple of things that sound contradictory. Doing 10 to 12 a day I thought would be reasonable. I think doing 10 to 12 these days is a full day and hard.
Yeah.
I told her it's not like it's so hard I'm having second thoughts, but if I thought it on a scale of 1 to 10, I thought it was going to be a 7. It's been an 8. Not a dramatic difference, but now I'm going to say something completely different, which may kind of sound contradictory. The trail itself is fantastic. Other than these, we've had 2 really horrendous rainy days where the trails turn into streams, as you know. Sometimes, a couple times, I almost went on my backside because your feet come out from under you.
Right.
But the trails have been very fair in the way they bring you up and down the different higher peaks and ridges, and so that part of it's been a pleasure. I would do a shout out to the Georgia Appalachian Trail Maintenance Club, the ATC. I think, and there are some whiners out here, but I think the trail's in fantastic shape, and I'm really appreciative of all the people who put it in the condition that it's in, because I'm having a ball. It's been hard days, fun days, new friends, but the gear's working. My tent is dry as a bone, and there's no reason I'm having any second thoughts about charging forward. And tomorrow I'm going to go into I'm going to leave Georgia.
Yes, isn't that amazing? There's a great feeling as well. I almost missed the sign. It's just this little wooden sign nailed to a tree, and had it not been people standing around it, I wouldn't even know the flipping sign was there. It's not a very spectacular crossover into the new state, but it's a lovely feeling to leave it, I must say. So are your trail legs actually kicking in yet, do you think?
I'm not sure I even know what trail legs are. My guess is
know when you get them. You'll know when you get them.
Yeah, I think, it's really good. The thing I've tried to do a couple times is sort of do a quick body check. It's like, okay, let's start at your toes. How's everything feeling? I've got no blisters. I've got no ankle pain. Wow. The thing for a lot of people our age, you hear a lot of people, talking about their knees.
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx, and I don't believe in jinx, but my knees are perfect. I have no problems.
Wow, good for you.
I had a little twinge in my hamstring during sort of one step down, and that's gone away. So that didn't develop into anything material. I got a little knot in my shoulder that I shouldn't call it a knot. It's a pain. I think it's just, constantly trying to figure out the perfect balance or the pack.
Yes.
But I would say after a week, I'm, like I always say, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, and things are going well. And I don't really have any aches and pains. I was answering your question about trail legs. The pains I have are just sort of your typical muscle soreness from the use and the stress every day. And you kind of walk around like you're 90 for the first 10 minutes of the morning, but then you're spry until you sit down and have to get up after dinner or something.
I always found that one of the most amazing things, Bruce, when you get up in the morning. I was terrible state, and I put my feet in my boots and then start walking around camp a bit, and suddenly I was ready to get. Well, it took me ages to get out of camp, but once you get moving around, your legs almost by muscle memory, they start moving, don't they? And you get walking, and you're away. I found that every single morning. I thought I'm never going to be able to walk far today, but every single morning, you have those first few steps, and they're terrible. And then you're fine again, aren't you?
Yep. I'm having that feeling every day already. So I'll ask me again about trail legs to see if I can distinguish between how I feel now and maybe a week from now.
I will. All right, but
I got to wrap up. I'm freezing.
Yeah, I was thinking that, and I was thinking a few minutes. I'll hopefully we'll speak again on Sunday, so we can put that next one on the show. But fantastic! I'm really pleased you're happy, and I'm glad you reached out because I really wanted to hear from you. So keep on going. Happy trials.
Things are great, and thanks, Steve. Cheers.
Okay.
We'll be in touch.
We'll speak soon. All the best. Bye.
Yeah, bye.
That was much better. We got in our question from Kristin Cowpie Princess Brown. So make sure you send me your address, Cowpie Princess, and you'll get 2 yummy Trialtopia meals sent out to you. Actually, when you send me your address, I'd love to know the origin of your trail name. Back to Bruce and his early thoughts. He's found the trail to be fair, which I guess is as good as you can get, isn't it? He sounded energised to me and really having a great time. He's also discovered the joys of temperature regulation while hiking. That constant putting on and taking off of clothing that follows you up the trail on cold days. He'll soon get used to it, but man, that's irritating. Eventually, of course, the cold started to get to him and we had to finish. So, that was week 1. He's still there. He's on plan, of course. He's meeting people and he's handling things well. With all that preparation, I hope he'd be handling things well. Most of all, though, Bruce is safe and he's enjoying it. I guess you really couldn't wish for better than that at the end of your first week, could you? And Bruce and I will see you next week.